Evening. My name's Henry. I'm with Austin Thread Crafts. Do a lot of bead work, Native American style. Do earrings, hat bands, guitar straps, flute wraps, bracelets, necklaces, all kinds of things. Show you a trick tonight, a couple things I want to go over. And that's me. Kind of can't switch cameras, so I had to hold the camera. But first thing I want to show you tonight is how to do a descending trick that I use on brick stitch. Then I might seal a couple earrings, show you how I do that, and whatever else we come up with. Let me get the camera mounted here and get the lights all on and get going. Alright, let me see, get the camera pointed, kind of halfway straight. Alright, if you want to see any of my work, you can go to sandersstitchdash.com and click on Austin Thread Crafts, and on apparel, handmade jewelry, beaded. I use Toho beads and Miyuki beads for their high quality and uniformity of color and size. Now, if you watch my previous video, I did a earring with an ascending brick stitch. Ascending means you're going wider each time. Descending means you're going narrower each time. Now, all the tutorials on YouTube and everywhere else, they show you on the descending brick stitch to get 2 beads and go up under this second loop here. I don't like doing that because it comes out loose on the edge and the beads sit crooked. So I've come up with my own little trick. Now you could do 1 bead at a time. Start with 1 bead in the first loop right here. I don't like that either because the line ends up on the outside of the bead. So here's my little trick. Let me get it in focus here as best I can so you can see this. It's a little design I saw of the buffalo skull. Those ears were fun to do. Boy, I tell you, first time I've ever done one that's not been like just a straight diamond like this. First time I've ever had a protrusion. So I really didn't know what the heck I was doing, but it came out real nice. I like the way it came out. That's the brick stitch using Miyuki Delica beads. Very delicate beads, but they give you a very uniform lay of the bead. Now here's my trick, okay? Instead of just like doing 2 beads, whoops, got the wrong needle. That one doesn't have any thread on it. Get this needle. Instead of doing 2 beads and then coming under the second loop here, which always leaves that end bead a little loose. What I do, okay, I go in the second bead here. Okay, let me see if I can get it into focus at this range. At this range, I have to manually focus. Okay, it's hard to see with the black bead. Okay, see, I go in the second bead and go in the second bead once above it too. Okay, so that's the second and the second bead on those 2 rows. Bring your thread through. Now, going back down, you go in the 3rd bead and the 2nd bead. 3rd bead and the 2nd bead. Okay, see how that is? 3rd bead and 2nd bead. So you go up the 2 beads, the number 2 and number 2 bead, come back down the number 3 and number 2 bead. What that does, it brings your fire line out of the 2nd bead. Okay, comes out of the 2nd bead. Now this one, oops, I gotta unzoom this so I can see the pattern. Now in this particular case, I got 1 black bead, Okay, now instead of coming inward through that second loop, you go out to the outside of the first loop. What that does is it brings that thread that's going to end up, okay, go on through the loop, and then you kind of got to flip it over, go up in the bead. What that does, that brings that string that's exposed, I don't know if you can see it there or not, in between the beads. So when you do the next bead, it hides it. And you get a very, very firm seat there. Instead of being a little crooked sideways. Oops. I hate it when it does that. Alright. See, now there's the second bead. Now I'll get down to the end here and I'll show it to you again. So we got black, 2 whites, and get this row stitched up here. This is for kind of more people that have experience with brick stitch instead of beginning. But it's handy to know even at the beginning, so you start then and you don't have to relearn something. So I hope you've done some brick stitch, and that's a very, very neat little trick. Because if you just, when you're doing descending like this and you do 1 bead, you get the line on the outside. If you do 2 beads, then that end bead tends to be a little looser and sits sideways, so that the whole row on the end bead kind of sit at an angle, and I do not like that. So we got, let me see, 1 brown, 1 silver. I tell you, these little beads are delicate, tiny little beads. If you've never done brick stitch or made beaded earrings, then you won't know. It takes a long time. A little earring will take an hour or 2. So people say, well, why do you charge $35, $45 for a pair of earrings? It's just beads. Yeah. You spend 4 hours making a pair of beaded earrings and see if you want to make $2 or $3 an hour selling something really cheap. So no, you pay for your time and experience and knowledge. The craftsmanship. Okay, so we finished up that row. Now the next row, we're still descending. Now this particular earring descends, ascends, descends, ascends, descends, ascends. It goes back and forth to make the shape. I don't have it printed out, otherwise I'd show you. Okay, let's go through that again now. You go up to the second and the second. The second bead on the first row, the second bead on the second row. Can you see that there? Kind of hard with them black ones. Pull it through, nice and snug. Now when you go back down, you go from the third bead in the second row through the second bead in the first row. Just like that. So it kind of makes a diamond shape. Your thread between the top, the bead on the top, will pop down in there and you won't even see it. Now this one's got 3 whites. So we're going to do, I'll do this a couple times so y'all get the hang of it. We got to do 3 whites on this one. Now flip it over. Come in this side. Don't come in that side. The bead will be upside down. You got to flip it over and get it in that tiny little hole, just like that. I love Fireline because of how good it sets the beads, but it's like working with steel wire. It just goes wherever it feels like going. Okay, so I got the first one. Now see, the thread is on the inside of the bead. So when you put the other bead, it doesn't even matter what colors, it hides that thread perfectly. So there's 2, let me see, on this one I got 3 whites. Make sure I'm doing this white, right? 3 whites and 2 silvers. I actually messed up a while ago up above. I had an extra bead in one of these lines and I didn't notice it till I was done with the second line underneath it. I'm like, oh man. So I snapped the beads out, stitched another bead into it, and it came out okay. I did that the other day. I snapped a bead out and it cut about 4 of the threads, and I know I was not happy with that. I had to stitch a whole bunch of it, redo. Unfortunately, my string's kind of long where I'd show you stopping and starting a string. I guess I could explain it without doing it, but let's do a couple rows here. First, stay with this subject for a minute. Okay, got 2 more whites, and then we'll be on the next row. We'll see what that row does. Alright, so we got the 3 whites, 2 silvers and 3 whites. Okay, so we're at the end of that row. Now, the next one is that you flip it over. Always flip it over every row. It's just easier to stitch going down like that than it is to try to stitch going back up that way. Okay, so this one's descending. 3 whites, a silver, and 3 white. So here we go again. Maybe see it easier, better now that it's on whites. Go up through the second and the second bead. See? Second and second bead. Pull it tight. And go back down to the third and then the second bead. It makes a triangle with the thread. You're coming back out the same hole you went into on the bottom, but you're going across 2 beads on the top. So this one's 3 whites, a silver, and 3 whites. Okay, so the first bead, you go under the first loop. You don't go inward on the loop, you go outwards on the loop. And that makes the string go inward. Flip it over. Go back up through it. Okay, see it sits nice and flat. 1, 3 whites, a silver, and 3 whites. So 2 whites. Oops, get back on there. I want to tell you one thing about these beads. They go everywhere. You know, slight little push, and you got beads flying everywhere, and I'll be damned if you can ever find them. I get down on my hands and knees and look on the carpet, and I got a indoor-outdoor carpet underneath me. They just disappear. Or I'll find a bead that's a color that I ain't even been working with, and I'm like, well, where the hell did that one come from? Okay. Let's get 2 more whites here. And we'll see what the next row has, whether it's a descending or ascending. When I say descending, I mean that you're getting narrower as you go down. Ascending means you're getting bigger as you go down. More beads in a row. Okay, so that was the last silver. Now this next row on this particular pattern is an ascending one. So you do your normal 2 beads, you go into the first hoop. Now I got no problem with the ascending being out of, they sit just fine. See, that one just sit just fine. So this one is white all the way across. Okay, now since we're I showed you that other one a couple times. This is how I would end a thread and begin a new one. I try to get it like in the middle of the beadwork. I would take the last bead, so this would be like the middle bead. I would take the last bead, and instead of going under the hoop and back up through the bead, I would actually bring it just straight through like this. Okay? And then pull it down. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have to undo it. So the thread would end up coming out of that bead, and then I just weave it back and forth between all the other beads in this row, all the way to the end. The reason I do that is then when I come back in here, I start with my empty thread and weave it through the first set of beads until I come back out that same hole and go back up through the same bead. That way, like now, when I put more beads on here, you're actually catching those the threads you just ended underneath. There would be 2 threads, 1 thread, 2 threads, 1 thread, 2 threads, and so on. So when you loop it through there and loop it and pull it tight, that gives it a super strong grip. It gives it a really, really strong, instead of just weaving it up through the beads, I don't like it doing that because it could pull loose easier. But if you're looping it through there, I'll have to show you all that sometimes on another video maybe. But you get the idea that you would go through the bead that's right underneath, not the next bead, but that one that's right underneath that one, and then weave it back and forth just on that bottom row until you come out the end. Like I said, that way when you make the loops, hook the bead through the loop like this, you would go under that, your ended thread and the thread for that row, and give you a double grip. It really helps. It really, really grips it. Try it sometime. You'll find out it really gives you a strong grip on that thread, because you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, depends on how far down you stitch. If you got a really wide one, like say if I was doing this one and ended the thread here in the middle, I probably wouldn't take it all the way down to the end, because that's just, you know, more than needed. You know, go 5, 6 beads, 8 beads, whatever. You can take it all the way to the end. Now after I come out on the end, I snip it about that much. Have it sticking out, snip it about that much, and I take a lighter. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to melt my thread. Light the lighter and just slowly bring it towards the end of the thread. You don't want to get too close, just until it starts melting, and just melt it, let it melt right up to into the bead. Don't want to get too close, you don't want to melt the other threads. That way you don't have any threads sticking out anywhere. I do that up here on the top, that loop too, after I've done all. Watch my previous video and it shows how to put these loops on. Start it with the loop. Okay, so this one was an ascending, so it's got one final bead here. I'll do the descending thing one more time, show you again, because this one's a descending with 2, 4, 6, 7 white beads. Now maybe with all white. And as I work, I just keep working this, you know, keep it flat. Now here's a trick I'll show you something, and let me show you this real quick again, then I'll show you that trick. Okay, now this one, you can't go through the second, because it's got, you got to go through the second and then the first, because it doesn't, you could go to second, but then you have to come back over this way and go through the second and first anyway. So basically you're just making a diamond shape, a triangle shape there on those 3 beads. The second bead on the bottom, triangle it up and back down. So that's the second and first bead. Pull it tight and then go, in this case it's the second and second bead. So you're just making a triangle. You go always through the second bead on the bottom. You go up 1 bead to the right, come back down to the left 1 bead, and back through that second bead again. Okay, so that was that. Now, one of the problems with this kind of beadwork is keeping it flat. See, after I've done it for a while, I'll just lay it down and push it down. That keeps it flat. But here's a trick I figured out. I got these magnets at Harbor Freight Tools. They're in the hobby section, I believe. I got 2 of them here. They got 90 pounds of force, and I got 2 of them, so that's 180 pounds of force. This is just a, you can get these at craft shops. They're just a metal plate to hold a pattern or something. You put the pattern on there with a couple magnets and that holds it. It's a steel plate and magnets. I got a little thin piece of leather in between there. The reason for that Let me turn my other light on, get some light on the subject. Yeah, that helped a little bit, but what I'm doing is flattening these beads, and this helps because then you can pull the magnets up. Okay, ooh, beads going everywhere. See what I mean? Them things just jump like cockroaches. Ooh, oh, that's a strong magnet. Let me get these black beads out of my orange. I've got Halloween colors here. Oh. Alright, now I've got orange in my black. Alright, let me get the orange out of there. And these two black ones on the oranges. My little trays I got at Joann's. I had to order them online. And then I glued a little strip in between that holds. Oh, there's a black one in my green too. Two black ones in my green. Them black ones went everywhere when I hit that. Okay. So what I'm doing here with the magnets is I'm flattening out this beadwork. This pair of earrings, a couple that I've made up here. I've got a little portable heater here. But if you got a heater vent, a light, or something like that, get it a little warm, not hot. I just hold it down in front of the heater for a couple minutes. What that does, it makes the fire line a little more flexible. Lay it down on here, flip it over, push it down. Make sure you got everything nice and flat. Okay. I do it on all the beadwork I'm flattening out. I put the leather on top of that. Get my magnets and gently. You don't want to let it drop down. It'll snap some of them beads. Just set it down on that leather. And what I'm doing is that 180 pounds of force pushing down on those beads on that warm thread helps set it so that you can dip it. Okay? And that gives you a nice flat beadwork. Even still, when I dip it, I still push them down and flatten them. Okay, let's go into dipping these because they're still flexible. Okay, let me put the magnet back on the board. Works great. They're only like $5 a piece at Harbor Freight Tool. I got two of them. You can do it with one, but two of them really clamps it down. Gives it a nice pressure on it. Sets them beads in place. And, you know, they'll still move because they haven't been dipped yet. Alright. Let me get the focus back down on the beadwork area. Oops, wrong way. Alright, we're going to dip these now. Let me get a paper towel. Put your way over here, of course. Alright, got a paper towel. This is what I use to dip. There's all kinds of different things you could use. This is a polyacrylic crystal clear top coat. It's actually made by Minwax. Whoops. Made polyacrylic crystal clear top coat. Made by Minwax. Got it at Lowe's. It's for going on top of acrylic paint. Seals everything. Okay, let me open this thing up. And we're going to dipping. Alright. First time I did this, I dropped the earring in here and I had to go pour it all out into a bowl and rescue my earring. Okay, here's how I dip them. I just dip the top down in there, shake off the excess, let it drip for a little bit, and then dip the bottom in. There's a piece of goop floating on the top. Dip it in there. Get all the excess. Now, I'm going to just dab off the excess. I'm not going to make sure I get it all because I still want a little bit on there. So I just kind of dab it. Okay. Now, this stuff gets on your fingers, but that's okay. It's wet. Just press it all down. Make sure your beads are all set. Set it over there to the side to dry. And what I do over there, I've got a speaker, just a little Bluetooth speaker that's real heavy. Once I set them over there on the side of the table, I just set the speaker on top of them. It keeps a weight on them. Now the second one, dip it. You want to really make sure it gets soaked in there in between them beads. Hold on to it real tight so you don't drop it. Dip it down in there, get all the air out. Okay. And just lightly dab it. You want to leave that poly coat on there because it makes it clear coat. Make sure all your beads are flat. Move it over there to the side. Do the next one. I'll tell you, this earring was a bugbear to do. But first time I've done one of those. Okay, dip it, shake it, let it drip some. Grab hold of it. Dab off the excess. Make sure it's nice and flat. Now set that over there, and I'm going to set my little speaker on top of it. Turn these so that they're, and get them all under the speaker. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Alright, I just set the speaker. That speaker's basically just keeping them flat. Seal it. Put the top back on. Oh. And that quart size jar lasts you forever. I don't know how many beads I made out of it, but it's a bunch. And it's a 32 fluid ounce. Make sure you get the clear gloss. This one's clear gloss. Or if you want a satin finish, get a satin finish. Just make sure it's clear, crystal clear. Some people use fingernail polish. I've seen people use all kinds of different things. I can't get the lid on here very good. Now after an hour or two, I'll flip those over and underneath the speaker, and make sure it's all flat all the way. There's the speaker. It's just a little Bluetooth speaker. It's heavy though. And I just set them on the table. Set that speaker down on them. Keeps them nice and flat. Alrighty. Oops. Oh yeah. I pushed the beads up. I was wondering why the beads weren't in the center of the thing there. Alright. Throw that away. Huh. Alright. Let me move my little mousey. Go back to... I guess we're good on the focus. Alright. Now let's see what we got going here. What's the next one? The next one on this one, okay, is a descending. So okay, we did the triangle. And then get your one bead, go outward under the outward loop. And this one is 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7. Oops, flip it over, go back up through that little tiny hole. Seeing the strings on the inside, so when you do the next bead, it hides it. Now I use Fireline. I bought some of the Wildfire at Walmart because I was out of Fireline. And it's a braided line too, but I hate it. Fireline, I've never had the braid come loose, fray, or anything like that. The Wildfire, if I didn't keep moving the needle every few beads, so that it was in a different spot, it would start fraying that line. This Wildfire, I never had it fray, never once. So there we go down on the end. This is going to be a cute little set of earrings with a buffalo skull. And it goes on down, and he's got a black and brown nose too. Probably be showing. Oops, I just dropped a bead over there. Stuck to my finger. These things stick to everything too. I know there's a couple on the floor that I've dropped tonight. I have to get down on my knees, which at my age is not easy, and look for them again. Alright, so that was all of that line. And you just keep on going down like that till you get to the end. See, it's coming along nicely. Well, that's upside down, but I really like that earring. It's going to be a cute one. So what else did I say? Let me see. The same thing on your loop earrings. You just dip them the same way. Like for instance, this pair of loop earrings that I made. Now I dip them before I put the hook and the feathers on there. So once I finish beading it, before I put the feather on there, I dipped it, and they come out. They're really stiff. You can't even see. You can't even move that around. That was a cute pair of rings. I don't even know if I got those up on my shop yet. And these, see, they're really stiff. They don't bend or flex. So that acrylic top coat really seals them good. Now see, this is one without the top coat. See, it really flexes and flattens and goes every which way. I haven't dipped that one yet. Now this is one I dipped, and it holds its shape, doesn't flex or anything. The acrylic top coat. Now watch my previous videos and I show you how to start it off with the 2 beads and 3 beads with these hoops, or wire guards they call them. Now this one, yep, this one's been dipped. It's nice and stiff. I make all kinds of earrings. I've got to work on getting some of these up on the shop too. Oh, let me see, hang that back up. And I make beaded breastplates and all kinds of stuff. Come visit me on the shop. My sister Rita, she does some beadwork too. We both sell on the shop. And my handy dandy little tool for opening that polychrome. Put it back up on the magnet. I guess that'd be about it for tonight. I'm going to go finish this earring and start off the next one and see if I can get those done. Those horse earrings, that was a present from my daughter-in-law. It's her name, Jessica. I put the J on there at the top. They're pretty big, but she liked them. So, her birthday was the other day, so I said, hey, I'll make you a pair of earrings for your birthday. She's got horses, so she loves horses. Oh yeah, I make bolo ties also. If you know anybody that likes the old West style tie, I make bolo ties. Those are on the shop too. I got a lot of them with different stones. They got the quick slides. You just push the little lever in the center, slide it up and down. Braided leather cords with the ends on it. Real nice little bolo ties. And then I came across that one the other day at Joann's. I said, oh, that'd make a good bolo tie. So I bought it. And it's got the quick slide too. Real nice bolo ties. Nice present for somebody that's in Western style dress. Come visit my shop, Sandra'sStitchStash.com. She's a cross stitcher. I do cross stitch too, so we kind of started a shop 7 years ago. And if you cross stitch, we got everything you'd ever need. We got 14,000 items, something like that. Sandra'sStitchStash.com. And you can search for Austin Thread Crafts and bring up all my headbands and earrings and guitar straps and everything else I got in there. Come visit us. Y'all have a great day, have a good new year, and I'll catch you on the next video. I'll have to come up with some other trick to show you next time. Y'all have a good day. Thanks.